Hello and welcome to Hidden Gems. My name is Arden Thomas. I'm the Syncom Smalltalk Product Manager. Hidden Gems is our series where we try to show you valuable capabilities in the product that may not be obvious, thus Hidden Gems. This month, we're going to be showing you something new, a continuation of the ValueModel series, and I'm really excited to show you this. I hope it to be the most valuable yet, and it highlights a framework that supports modular application construction and reuse. So what is it? Well, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly so we can get to the examples. This is fairly long. This is a framework that allows a library user to create and use a library of really easily reusable applications. And so why should you be interested? Well, it's a hidden gem. It's actually much more powerful than it first seems. And if you use it in hindsight, the benefits will be obvious, but maybe not so upfront. So I've used something like this before. And if you're like me, you'll look at it and think, okay, that's nice, but so what? Well, what I overlooked was it scales fantastically. So if you have a small example, it's a little benefit. It's not obvious, but if you start to scale up the usage, the benefits are very, very large and very, very useful. It gives you less code and much more, and the code you're using is much more highly tested, and that really starts to make a difference when you scale. So does having less code really make much of a difference? Well, yeah, my example was if you have a simple example with 2 lines versus 10, no big deal, right? But if you scale that up by a factor of 1,000 or 10,000 or more, then all of a sudden 2 lines versus 10 lines scaled up makes a huge deal. And like I mentioned, a lot of the code you'll see in this framework, you're using and reusing the same well-tested code over and over again. So those pieces are very robust. So what does it do? Well, we're going to make frequent typical patterns easier and simpler. It makes the application itself a value model, and I hope you've seen in the prior screencast, the value models are really useful and very flexible, and you can use them in a lot of neat and creative ways. It also leverages the power of one. You have, for your reusable pieces, you have one domain, one focus, and it makes it one very reusable application. And you'll assemble more complex applications from those pieces, and it gives you more time to handle the more difficult work that you need to do. Let you concentrate on that and not be bogged down by the typical work. So where did this come from? Well, the interface I used, and you can also find it on the repository, is Value Interface. And this was developed by a friend of mine at Park Place, Steve Abel, a really great and innovative framework. And a valid question is, if it was so great, why wasn't it more widely used and adopted, and why didn't you hear about it? Well, this is what I've looked at and tried to discern what could have made it more successful. Well, one of the reasons, until you scale it to larger use, you don't realize the biggest benefits from it. It did some things, some fairly complex things in order to be simple. And if you looked at that complexity, you might be a little put off. The API, I think maybe there's an opportunity to improve some of the API, and maybe it didn't get as much exposure as it could have gotten. So we're going to see if we can address some of those things. I'm going to apply Pareto's law by taking the most useful 20% of value interface that gives you most of the benefits. I'm going to keep it simple, use a very clear intention revealing API wherever possible, and I'm going to show you how to use it. So what are the 3 patterns? The 3 patterns are a basic domain interface, a list of domains, and modular usage. So what do those look like? Well, here's some more about it. We're going to formalize and simplify the basic typical patterns, you'll see, I hope you'll agree that this makes applications remarkably modular and show you how to combine and reuse them. Here's pattern 1, the basic domain interface. We have the example of a stock here where we show you the ticker, the company name, what industry and sector it's in. And these all refer to a domain holder, which is a value model, typically a value holder that holds our domain. So we're going to formalize this basic pattern. Here's what it's going to look like. Here's our application, and it points to a domain holder. That's pattern 1. Pattern 2 gives us a list of domains. So here's a list of stocks, keeping with our example. If we select a stock, that is what gets pushed into in the domain holder, and you'll see it can be easily shared by doing so. Pattern 3, the modular usage. We take those 2 examples and we bring them together, and with literally 1 line of code, we can share and plug them together so they share the same domain holder. And it's architected to do this to make it easy. So this architecture allows pluggable apps where we can easily share and use domains from applications and plug them together. We can plug lots of pieces together and wire them together very, very quickly and easily. And that is it. So the next screencast will show you how to build some of the examples that we just showed you there. Until next time, happy small talking.